By 2002, America had somehow decided the ideal form of entertainment was watching a confused millionaire in a bathrobe yell "Sharon" at walls for 30 consecutive minutes. And somehow, against all known laws of television, it worked. The Osbournes was supposed to be an intimate look inside the home of Ozzy Osbourne, the legendary Prince of Darkness, which sounded terrifying until viewers discovered the Dark Prince mostly spent his time losing fights against remote controls.
Room and taken my beers away from my room.
I don't think so, darling.
And wandering through his mansion like a man who'd just survived a minor head injury at a Renaissance fair. And America became obsessed. MTV had accidentally captured something television almost never allows: rich people who looked genuinely exhausted by their own existence. Ozzy was barely coherent. Sharon Osbourne ran the household like an underpaid war general, and their children Jack and Kelly communicated almost exclusively through screaming. It felt chaotic, weirdly sincere, and just unstable enough to make audiences feel better about their own families. The show became the biggest hit in MTV history. Networks immediately panicked and started searching for their own dysfunctional celebrities to exploit. Because once executives realized audiences would happily watch emotional breakdowns as entertainment, reality television stopped being a genre and became a business model. And the truly disturbing part is,
Who's the beer thief? You. You're the beer thief.
the Osbournes may have been the last time any of it felt even remotely real. The truly incredible thing about the Osbournes is that it almost didn't happen, which makes sense because no functioning legal department would voluntarily approve a television show built around a man who looked permanently surprised to still be alive. The idea started after the Osbourne family appeared on an episode of MTV Cribs in 2000. Producers expected another standard celebrity house tour: expensive furniture, fake humility, maybe a refrigerator full of bottled water nobody drinks.
So just that heat in it, just cooks it and just spins.
I think it needs a bit of oil, son.
Instead, they discovered absolute domestic anarchy. Dogs everywhere, constant screaming, Ozzy wandering through rooms like a sleep-deprived wizard searching for batteries. And at the center of it all was Sharon Osbourne, who immediately understood something television executives hadn't figured out yet: chaos sells better than perfection. At the time, celebrity culture still operated on distance. Famous people were polished, managed, carefully protected. Publicists treated human personality like a hazardous chemical. Then the Osbournes arrived and basically said, what if we let viewers watch rich people emotionally deteriorate in high definition? And audiences loved the honesty of it, or at least what looked like honesty. The timing was perfect. Reality TV was still young enough to feel experimental instead of spiritually exhausting. Survivor had proven audiences liked watching humiliation. Big Brother proved surveillance could be entertainment. But the Osbournes introduced something more dangerous: celebrities behaving badly inside their own homes. Suddenly, fame didn't need mystery anymore. In fact, mystery was now a commercial weakness.
Nitrous.
Nitrous in here?
The first season became a cultural event almost immediately. MTV pulled record ratings. Critics treated the show like some groundbreaking sociological study instead of footage of a family arguing about dogs urinating on carpets. Even politicians got involved. President George W. Bush publicly joked about Ozzy. Imagine explaining that sentence to someone from the 1980s without causing a medical emergency. But underneath the success, the warning signs were already there, because the more popular the family became, the harder it became for them to act naturally while millions of people watched. And once a reality show becomes aware of itself, reality is usually the first thing that disappears. At first, the chaos felt accidental. That was the magic of the Osbournes.
Well, said no.
We're all done.
Viewers weren't watching celebrities perform fame yet. They were watching a genuinely dysfunctional family attempt basic daily survival inside a mansion full of screaming dogs and emotional instability. Ozzy forgot conversations halfway through having them.
Ask you a personal question.
Yes.
Why do we have 3 brown fingers?
Sharon ran the household like a sleep-deprived military commander. Jack and Kelly treated every disagreement like a televised hostage negotiation. It felt messy enough to be believable. And in the early 2000s, believable was revolutionary. But success creates a very specific disease in reality television. The moment networks realize audiences enjoy spontaneity, they immediately start manufacturing it with the subtlety of a demolition crew. By season 2, the show already felt different. The Osbournes were no longer random weird celebrities accidentally captured by MTV cameras. They were now globally famous specifically for being watched. Every argument existed with the awareness that millions of strangers would eventually consume it while eating microwave burritos at midnight. And once people become aware of the camera, authenticity starts dying, one nervous laugh at a time. Even members of the family later admitted producers shaped situations and pushed certain storylines. Jack and Kelly acknowledged that parts of the show were exaggerated or orchestrated by MTV producers, including staged household scenarios and heavily guided scenes, which is incredible because the show already featured Ozzy trying to communicate with electronics like a medieval peasant encountering cursed machinery. How much extra scripting did they really need? But the darker problem was Ozzy himself. Years later, Ozzy admitted he was heavily intoxicated during much of the filming. Suddenly, a lot of scenes stopped looking like harmless eccentricity and started looking medically concerning. The slurred speech,
Stains.
I'm scratching my ass with your ink.
the confusion, the wandering through hallways like a haunted Roomba. At the time, audiences interpreted it as lovable rock star chaos because reality television had not yet taught viewers how exploitative the genre could become. Modern audiences would probably call a wellness check.
Either you're going to breathe in through your ass or you're going to turn and run for the ball.
Back then, MTV called it a rating success, and then reality hit the show harder than any scripted drama could manufacture. During the series, Sharon Osbourne was diagnosed with colon cancer. For the first time, the show stopped feeling like ironic celebrity comedy and became something uncomfortably human. Ozzy looked terrified. The family looked exhausted. Beneath all the editing tricks and bleeped profanity, viewers suddenly saw actual fear, which unfortunately taught television executives an important lesson. Trauma tested extremely well with audiences. Reality TV learned that viewers didn't just want chaos anymore. They wanted vulnerability, preferably monetized between SUV commercials and fast food ads. Then came the ATV accident. In 2003, Ozzy crashed an all-terrain vehicle on his property in England and nearly died. He suffered multiple fractures and spent days in intensive care. And the strange thing was how quickly even something this serious became absorbed into the Osbourne media machine. The goofy domestic sitcom atmosphere vanished almost overnight. Ozzy no longer looked like an amusingly confused rock legend. He looked fragile, burned out, damaged by decades of excess, and now permanently trapped inside a television persona. Audiences expected him to keep performing forever, and viewers slowly started pulling away. Because audiences always claim they want reality, but what they actually want is controlled dysfunction with safe emotional boundaries. Once the suffering stops feeling entertaining and starts feeling real, people get uncomfortable. Nobody wants to feel morally responsible while eating nachos in sweatpants. By the later seasons, the show had become trapped inside its own success. The family was too famous to behave naturally anymore.
Come here. These are pictures we've never seen. That was Baldrick. That was our first bulldog.
Ugly.
Random moments now carried production schedules, expectations, branding opportunities, and tabloid consequences. Ozzy later admitted he hated having cameras constantly inside the house and felt overwhelmed by the level of fame the show created. And honestly, that may have been the most honest thing anyone has ever said about reality television, because the Osbournes accidentally exposed the central paradox of the entire genre. The more successful a reality show becomes, the less real it can possibly remain. The reason the Osbournes eventually collapsed is actually very simple. The show was built on a resource that cannot survive exposure: privacy. That was the fuel. Not Ozzy's fame, not Sharon's personality, not the swearing, the dogs, or the constant sense that somebody in the house was 3 minutes away from a nervous breakdown. The thing audiences responded to was the feeling that they were seeing something they were not supposed to see. And once the family understood that millions of people were watching specifically for those private moments, the entire system became poisoned. Because reality television creates a very specific psychological trap. The more authentic you appear, the more successful you become. But the more successful you become, the less authentic your life can possibly remain. Eventually, every argument becomes potential content. Every emotional collapse becomes storyline material. Every traumatic event arrives with production meetings attached to it like some deeply cursed corporate retreat, and the Osbournes accidentally trained the entertainment industry to industrialize that process. Before the show, celebrities protected access to their personal lives like state secrets. After the show, oversharing became an economic strategy. Suddenly, networks wanted families, marriages, addictions, children, therapy sessions, public breakdowns, anything that blurred the line between entertainment and emotional trespassing. Without the Osbournes, there is probably no Kardashian empire, no influencer families monetizing childbirth announcements, no YouTubers filming apology videos in softly lit mansions after cryptocurrency scandals. The show helped create a culture where constant visibility became confused with relevance. And the really sinister part is that audiences participated willingly. People mocked reality television while consuming it with the dedication of medieval peasants attending public executions. Viewers claimed they hated fake celebrity culture while demanding more intimate access to celebrity suffering every year. We didn't just normalize parasocial relationships, we turned them into an advertising model. That's why modern reality TV feels so hollow now. The early seasons of The Osbournes worked because nobody involved fully understood the machine yet. There was still unpredictability, real embarrassment, genuine discomfort. By the time later reality shows arrived, everyone knew the assignment: cry on camera, go viral, sell detox tea afterward. Even the Osbournes themselves eventually seemed exhausted by the performance. Ozzy openly admitted the cameras made him miserable. Sharon later said continuing the show would have destroyed the family permanently, which is probably the closest reality television has ever come to an honest mission statement. Because the genre doesn't reward stability. Stability is boring. The machine needs escalation. Louder fights, bigger scandals, public humiliations delivered in seasonal arcs like emotional Marvel movies.
Now fuck off, guy.
And eventually, every reality show reaches the same endpoint. People no longer behaving like humans, but like damaged employees trapped inside their own public identities, which raises a slightly uncomfortable question. If The Osbournes was the last reality show that accidentally felt real, what exactly have we all been watching ever since? What made The Osbournes fascinating wasn't the dysfunction. Television had already figured out that dysfunction sells. Daytime talk shows had spent the entire 1990s proving audiences would absolutely rearrange their schedules to watch strangers throw chairs at each other over paternity disputes. What made the Osbournes different was the illusion that none of this was supposed to happen. For one brief moment, the show captured something television almost never catches: famous people behaving like they genuinely forgot the cameras existed. Ozzy wandering through the house confused, Sharon holding the entire family together through pure rage and nicotine.
You can fuck off.
Jack and Kelly treating basic communication like an extreme sport. It felt strangely human beneath all the absurdity. And then the machine noticed. Networks copied the formula immediately. Celebrity reality shows multiplied like a biological containment failure. Suddenly, every washed-up actor, athlete, and emotionally unstable millionaire needed a home renovation special and 3 confessional interviews per episode.
I'm stuck. I'm permanently here, Sharon.
Privacy stopped being a boundary and became wasted marketing potential. And the tragedy is that the Osbournes themselves were probably among the first people to realize how destructive that trade actually was. Ozzy later admitted the fame from the show made him miserable. Sharon admitted continuing it would have destroyed the family, which is the perfect ending for reality television, really. The closer audiences get to the truth, the more everyone involved starts psychologically disintegrating. But even now, people still revisit clips from the show. The yelling, the dogs, the endless Sharon compilations circulating online every few months like cultural clockwork. Because buried underneath all the chaos was something modern celebrity culture rarely produces anymore: accidental authenticity. Not polished vulnerability, not algorithm-friendly relatability, actual mess. And maybe that's the real legacy of the Osbournes. It convinced the world authenticity could survive commercialization. 20 years later, the internet is still trying to prove that fantasy true. Anyway, like, subscribe, and tell us which reality show should finally be taken behind the barn and humanely put out of its misery next.